when I was a kid, they kept me in a bubble away from people who were different from me. So I couldn't even have the opportunity to become self-aware.
Hello, I'm Dan.
And I'm Can.
And this is the Dan and Can podcast. Welcome back, candies, dandies.
There you go. Candies, dandies, or dandies, candies. Oh, that sounds creepy.
No one wants dandies, candies. We all prefer candies, dandies. So
if Dan comes around, if someone comes offering you dandies, candies, run.
Yeah, that's what back in the day when your parents were in the park and they saw the guy with the van over there, they said, don't go get dandies, candies from him. He's a bad feller. So, well, Candy, how you been doing this week?
Okay. Pretty good.
Yeah, got some stuff brewing all around like usual.
Yeah.
Well, let's get going on this, okay? So we just get screw it. Let's just start. Why don't you, well, let me give you a would you rather. Might create one off my head. Would you rather be Erica Kirk's tour manager?
I almost did one on that.
And hype man for Erica Kirk
man
on her tour.
Hype woman. Yeah, okay.
Or
ew.
Would you rather be, let's see,
married to Kirk Cameron? Oh, those are awful.
Yeah, married to Kirk Cameron.
Awful options.
Or Kirk Cameron's side piece.
Oh, God. Gross. But if I was Kirk Cameron's side piece, that means he's having an affair. So the perfect image that he's created is not true. So I would expose it and be like, guys.
But then he's just in the normal Christian realm of things. The higher up you are in the authoritarianship of Christianity, the more likely you are to have the side pieces, alternate families and everything else.
Yeah. And at one point in time, to be honest, I had a crush, and that's disgusting.
Yeah. So Kirk Cameron's side piece it is.
Ew. Wait, what was the other one? Oh, yeah, I couldn't hype up Erica. I could. Ooh. I could get in there and infiltrate a little bit. I don't know, Dan. I wouldn't want to be his side piece. I would be like breaking up with him the very next second I found out I was his side piece. Does that count? Can you do that?
Hold on. So you would be having the relationship anyways with Kirk Cameron?
No, I said I'd break up with him the very next, the moment that I found out I was in a relationship with Kirk Cameron, I'm breaking it off.
So you'd have a relationship with Kirk?
No.
Until you realized you were his side piece.
No, not until I realized his side piece that I'm in a relationship with him. Once I realized, because I'm probably like, I'm in psychosis. I don't know I'm in a relationship with him. So the moment I realize I'm breaking it off.
Your childhood fantasies have come true.
Disgusting. Stop saying it's childhood fantasies. It's not. It's disgusting. Ew. This is cringe-worthy material. I was going to do some would you rathers. I typed in Google, would you rather Christian edition. So would you like some of those?
Sure.
These are what we would ask when we were in evangelical Christianity. Would you rather confess your secret sin to your pastor or your entire youth group? Your secret sin. I guess there's a real big secret. I mean, I guess people have them.
Well, if I'm answering from today, probably the youth group, because the pastor would probably get some sort of jollies off of it.
Wait, what is the secret sin? What's the secret sin you're keeping a secret?
Huh? I don't know.
First tell us, and then we'll decide who you should tell it to. Just come on, share it. If the pastor's getting his jollies off of it, what is it, Dan? I want to know.
The pastor would be like, tell me more. And what did you
What
do
is
next?
it? Now I'm okay. Well, now I'm very curious as to what is your secret sin right now.
Well, if I was in that mindset back in my
Oh, if I
youth,
would
it was probably that I was kissing my girlfriend
Mary
behind
Beth
the.
under the bleachers.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was Mary Pat.
Did you really date someone named Mary Pat?
No, it was in the first or second grade, and we were hanging out under the bleachers because we'd always have fun under there, just running around and
That's a
whatnot.
favorite of kids, yeah.
And then a couple of eighth graders came down there. And they're like, kiss, kiss. So we did.
I never heard that story. Did you just kiss like pet kiss or what kind
Yeah,
of
we were
kiss was
first
this?
graders.
Oh, dear God. Okay. I hope so. All right. Next question. Would you rather carry the Ark of the Covenant or Jesus's cross?
I would rather carry Jesus' cross because those are the burdens that I laid upon him, and I need to take my fair share.
Oh, brother.
Is that sanctimonious?
The
for
Ark
you?
of the Covenant will check you out, though. You just die if you touched it.
If you touched it.
There was an actual guy who tried to, well, you'd have to be if you weren't a Levite,
Yeah.
it'd be a Levite from the Levite tribe. Yeah. Would you rather have the wisdom of Solomon or the strength of Samson?
The wisdom of Solomon. Because what good would strength do you without the wisdom?
So you can tell women to like, if a woman like they're
I
coming
can
and saying that's my
manipulate-
baby and that's my baby.
Yeah.
You could say cut the baby in half.
I can manipulate people into doing my own will with that supreme knowledge.
Wow. Let's see if I can find one more. Would you rather face Goliath with only a slingshot? These are so lame. Or wander 40 years in the desert?
I'd go after Goliath.
You have to think like a Christian. They would think, I'm going to hit him in the one shot because I'm David.
Yeah.
I'm like David. I'm like, oh, this will play into what we're going to talk about today. I'm David in the story. I'm the disciples in the story. That's who I am in the stories. Remember thinking like that?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
That's biggest issue with it. All right. So I won't try to derail us from this train of thought here then and kind of go on this because it's kind of what I want to talk about. And I don't know how we're going to talk about it here, but self-awareness. It's a huge issue, not just in religious circles, but in the world in general. This idea of self-awareness, like examples from day-to-day life. There's people I know that I'm friends with that are extremely self-unaware. They'll complain about other people, about how they're doing. One that kind of trips me up right now is at my job where we work outdoors and in the Midwest, and you're doing landscaping and stuff like that. Grass and trees and plants aren't growing in November, December, January, February. So there's not a whole lot we can be doing in this time. So it's a lot of maintenance work going on, and it's a slow
Cleaning
time.
and maintenance, yeah.
It's monotonous, boring. It's not very time consuming, shall we say. So we'll sit around and sometimes breaks get extended a little bit and whatnot, or we get caught in a conversation about something, and inevitably we'll start complaining about people and what they're doing and how they're not doing anything. And then sometimes if I get it in me, I'll make the point of, well, we are sitting around here for 10 minutes now, bullshitting and bitching about all these guys not doing anything while we're sitting around here not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they're like, well, yeah. So, but that's one example. There's more examples of that where people complain about stuff. And it's like, well, someone will come out and start complaining to me about, I can't believe all these people talking about everyone else behind their backs. This guy was doing this and done. It's like, well, aren't you talking about them behind their back right now too?
You're doing the exact same thing that you accused the other person of.
But this inability to see ourselves.
See through another's eyes.
Yeah. See what it is. So Well, go on that. Kind of explain this self-awareness thing maybe a little bit.
Well, I would say, like, first of all, I didn't know necessarily. You might even have heard us use it more often. I'm using it much more often than I ever used to because it was something I needed. I was trying to find language for what I was experiencing. And it was this self-awareness. I just didn't have the language for it. And then I came across, oh, that's what it's called self-awareness. You understand that your point of view is not the only point of view. You can understand that other people have different perspectives and theirs are just as legitimate to them as yours is to you. You're not the truth keeper.
Mm-hmm.
You have an angle that you're looking at things through, and nobody's angle is completely perfect. Everybody's got a bend to their angle of how they see everything. And first of all, that's part of being self-aware. Self-aware is also noticing that my actions have an effect on other people. They affect their lives. How I handle things in my life. And it's basically the opposite of being self-absorbed. Now, when you're young, you typically are more self-absorbed. And it's kind of a natural thing. Babies are very self-absorbed. They want their needs met. They want them met now. They will cry until you give them what they need, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a natural thing. You just don't want to stay in that childlike phase forever, your whole life. But there are plenty of adults that are still like that. They want things done their way. They think they have the only right way. Their way is the truth. They think that is reality is their truth, basically. Mm-hmm. How they see it is reality. Instead of there are facts. There's no denying there's facts. So like they've done studies on this where they've kind of staged an accident, a car accident. And people who had no clue were around watching it, right? Or they saw it happen. And every single person had a different story of what happened. And none of them had the story of what exactly happened. Yeah. And the reason they know exactly what happened is because they staged it, right? So they knew the exact facts. Now, those facts are true. The car hit this at this speed or at this time, whatever, right? Those are facts. But everybody's perspective of those is very skewed towards their point of view, where they were looking from, or what state they were in when they watched it. So that's what self-awareness in its basic form is. So it's very hard, I think, for someone who's very entrenched in Christianity to become self-aware because they think they're very certain they have all the truth.
Yes.
Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. And I think that's and it's not, Christianity is a good example of it. I think some other ideologies that we get involved into, one nowadays.
Oh, it's all over. Yeah.
MAGA, that ideology.
Yeah.
You get stuck in that.
Yeah.
And
you could be extreme left and think you have it all figured out, that your ways are all correct. Yeah. And it basically, self-awareness requires you to have room to be able to hold nuance.
Yes.
So everything's not black and white. There's a lot of gray.
Well, I think the first step of self-awareness is realizing that you don't have the absolute truth.
Yes.
Or
it's possible. You have to just open enough to say it's possible I don't have the truth.
Which goes against the face of religion, which goes against
especially the religion we grew, evangelical Christianity, fundamentalist Christianity. They don't have room for you to be doubting or thinking that way at all.
So
there might be some religions that are a little more loose. I would say like Hinduism, Buddhism. I don't know if Buddhism is considered a religion, but it's a little more open to interpretation. But in fundamentalist Christianity, no.
Yeah.
Even though they don't all agree.
You don't have this nuance to be able to accept that you're not absolutely correct, especially on the core principles, which then makes you incredibly unaware. And I remember just the contradictions in life that we would have in religious mindset, of no, we're pro-life. We're completely pro-life. No abortion. Let the babies be born. But that's where it ended. So then when people would come up and say, and fortunately we never got these questions because then that would make us look like idiots.
Mhm.
of, well, are you going to help support these children afterwards? The responses we'd have to be was, well, that was their choice, and this is the consequences that these individuals have to serve, these women have to serve. Well, what about the guy that got her pregnant? Well, he's not necessarily tied to this baby, so he can go out. So it's pretty much on the mother. She's got to take care of it all. And we're not on the hook to help raise this child or
See
help
what's yeah.
provide and do anything like this. That's the consequences of your actions on doing this.
Now, as you're even saying that, I think if I had been asked those questions, and if I ever was, I don't remember, but I know it would have affected me because of I'm an empath for true.
Yeah.
You know that. With
Yeah.
you, I think, you could easily sit there and just be like, it's black and white. Nope. I would be like, the mother, I feel so bad. Like, this is awful. You know what I'm saying? I would be torn pretty quickly. But I think you would have been like,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah. Because
You know
I'm
what
an
I'm saying?
asshole.
No, you're not an asshole, but you are not, you haven't been programmed to be as
Empathetic.
No, you just weren't. And maybe it's because you're a male. Maybe it's because you're a white male. I have no idea, but it's nothing. I'm not trying to like dig at you, but I'm saying those questions, if you're an empath, you're going to affect an empath. They're going to be like,
Yeah.
wait a second, that doesn't sound right. Something sounds, I have compassion for these people, but then you would also hear empathy is a sin or a weakness, as certain people have said recently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So then you might feel that torn. So anyways,
Yeah.
maybe so in some situations it is. I don't know.
So you have this lack of self-awareness just by nature being in the church. Because of you have the truth. You don't, and everything's going to fall under them glasses. You're not going to see the nuances in life. Every abortion is wrong, regardless of what the health of the mother may be of it. What, if the child is, if the pregnancy is
non-viable or like it's going to kill the mother or something. Yeah. Then it's
Doesn't
like
matter.
you just pray and you try to save both. They would always say, you try to save both and just trust God. So they might both die. Instead, you could aim for like saving the mother. I'm going to save her life.
Yeah.
And be successful, pretty guaranteed. But if you're trying to save both, you might not be able to do that. I don't know. I don't know how doctors deal with that, but that was the response.
So it gets you in this mindset that you're always on the right side of things because you're in the truth, which kind of ties into something you hit up on earlier, where you're going to be David in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
When you're completely self-aware, you put yourself in the hero role. And we find this a lot with Christians that
I mean, when you're not self-aware.
Yeah. When you're not self-aware, you're in the hero role. You're in the winner's role. So you are on the good side of this event and the outcome because I'm one of God's children. So of course I'm going to be on that side.
Yeah, I believe in Jesus. So I'll be David. I'll be the disciples. I'll be Paul. I'll be all the people that were persecuted or whatever. I'll be those people. I'll never be the one doing the persecuting or the villain in the story.
Yeah. So, and I think an interesting, and I saw this brought up a couple times. It was a debate. I can't remember who the names of the guys was between. It was that young British guy who's an atheist. And he debates a lot of Christian guys. And then he's going against that older gentleman that goes to all the campuses and debates college kids.
Oh, I know who he is too. What are their names? I don't know.
I can't remember.
Sorry, guys. We don't know their names, but.
But the young kid asked the guy, he said, all right, let's put you in a scenario here. You're one of the whatever old tribes that Israel was going against, Philistines or whatever. He says,
that's one of them, yeah.
You're in that tribe. And you see the Israelites coming your way. And you know from what you've seen them do around your area there that they're coming in to absolutely annihilate you, destroy you. They're going to kill you, your women, your children, leave nothing standing behind. Do you automatically go and believe in that God because of this? Or do you stay true to your God because that's what you always believed? And the guy he couldn't respond to it because what he did was he put him outside of the hero role and put them in the other side of the story. He gave them the nuance.
Mm-hmm.
And when the guy was in that role, he couldn't answer it, which is another question that I had before too was, and I heard this in another way put today too, is, all right, you have the Christian person telling you that their God is the only way and truth, the light, and the Muslim telling you that Allah is the only way. So if I believe in the Christian God, but it turns out that Allah is correct, the Muslim belief is correct, then I end up in Muslim hell for the rest of eternity.
Mm-hmm.
But if I believe in the Muslim God and the Christian God is correct, then so tell me, how do I decipher which one is true?
Mm-hmm.
And
this is someone who's asking those questions. When people ask, okay, so I used to wonder this too, like how in the hell are you supposed to know that this is true? It's kind of like you would ask yourself, how do I know if it's God that told me to do this, or if it's my own voice? Like when you feel like you get a thought, right? And you're like, how do I know if that wasn't me or somebody else, kind of like it was a reminder of something somebody else said to me, or if it's God? Just that torture of like, how do I know? First of all, a person who starts to ask that is like teetering on becoming self-aware, I would say. I do recall my mom saying this one time. She said she once would think about this, like, how do I know which one's true? Because there's so many different types of Christianity and there's so many different religions. And she was like, and I just found the truth. So instead of like actually treating that question with sincerity, she just went with the one that felt most comfortable to her, the one she knew, you know?
I think where we're at now, the best thing we say is truth is pretty much subjective.
It is. I don't think there's probably is I would say right now that I feel like there is one objective truth, and that's that we're all connected somehow from the beginning of whatever. But that's about all that you could probably come to the conclusion of. I mean, there's facts, like gravity exists, that kind of stuff. But we're talking about like when it comes to like universal truth that's not like physical matter. Who knows? There can't be. I think it is subjective, but Christians don't like that. When someone says my truth, they're like, no, there's one truth and Jesus died on the cross sins and that's what you got to believe. You know what I'm saying? So then they say you believe, you just have nothing to anchor yourself to. Yeah. And if you anchor yourself to the idea that we're all connected, I think you'd be a pretty good person to people. And if you anchor yourself to that you got one shot at this life, let's say you're an atheist and you're just like, we just exist for a little bit and then we're gone. I think you could end up being a pretty decent person, because you're like, I want to make this a good run. I want to enjoy it while I'm here and I want others to enjoy it. I don't want to take away their chance, I mean, could those both go the other way? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, just kind of depends on where you go. Because the atheist could be like, well, I want to make it as best for me, so I'm going to lie, cheat,
fuck
steal,
all the rest
and do
of
whatever I can
to
get the best for myself. So...
and so Christians think have the moral high ground because they're like, no, we know how to behave because we have the Bible and it tells us. And then first of all, they're cherry picking and they'll accuse everybody of cherry picking. But because they're so self-absorbed, they can't notice that they're cherry picking for whatever reason. It's like I guarantee you're wearing clothing that has mixed materials at some point, and that was against the law. I guarantee you've accidentally touched a dead insect on accident, unintentionally, but that was against the law. You're unclean, all these little things.
I won't go off on that tangent. But it's control, Dan, control. But this whole idea then of operating out of absolute truth leads you to be self-unaware and almost empowers you to try to force your truth and your belief out there, not taking into mind any consideration of other people's perspectives. Because if we were to boil it down, religion in and of itself is pretty much geographical.
Very much so.
If you go into America, European societies, it's pretty much going to be Christian dominant. If you start getting into the Middle East, Africa, it's going to be more Islamic. You get into the Eastern And if you get into India, it's going to be more Hindu. You go a little farther north into China and stuff, it's going to be more Buddhist, Taoism, and all that.
Confucianism or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty much geographic.
It's geographical. It is. And you just happen to be the lucky ones,
Yeah, you're the lucky ones that you were born into it and got to go in it. That's a weak argument for truth, but it emboldens these people, and we see it every day where they feel,
because they don't have critical thinking skills to think through what you just said, though.
Yeah,
they don't understand that.
But we know people that are completely self-unaware.
Yes,
and they're some of the most boldest individuals in what they do on a daily basis. Am I correct? Yeah. In the way that they act, the way that they treat other people.
They can be cocky. It's not true confidence. They're cocky, arrogant, prideful, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
And when I say they treat people however they feel, I'm not saying that they're being cruel or nasty to them.
No.
But they're definitely trying to force their ideologies on them, trying to convince them of their ways being wrong and their ways being right. But you never got that nuance of walking a mile in that person's shoes to understand where they came from. And I think and Christians a lot of times will say, no, that's not true. We go up to people that are always in dire positions, and we love to hear their testimonies because it's a testament to God and how well they did. The fact of the matter is you approach this person and started verbally vomiting your beliefs on them.
Well, and you come in with the assumption that they need your God.
Yes.
That first you come up with the assumption they don't have your God because they're doing something or they look a certain way that makes you think, or they're at a certain location that makes you think they can't be Christian, right? It's kind of like how I was so shocked when I heard someone say they were a Democrat and they were a Christian. I was like, what? That's a thing. I didn't even know it was possible. So actually I say that, but then my grandma was a Democrat, or she said she was a Democrat, and she was a Christian, but she was Catholic. So it's kind of like,
a lot of cognitive dissonance going on there, Ken.
Yeah, just rampant. But the thing is with like Christians, and I can only talk from my point of view. Once again, self-awareness, that when I was a kid, they kept me in a bubble away from people who were different from me. So I couldn't even have the opportunity to become self-aware because I couldn't hear other people's point of view. People were telling me what they're doing. They're out to get you. They love the devil. They want to get you away from God. They hate God. They're enemies of God, right? Or like today, what they say about LGBTQ people, they say they have an agenda. But it's just straight up projection. The LGBTQ people do not have an agenda other than just admit we exist and let us live our lives and stop trying to prohibit us from living the way that feels most natural to us, right? Instead, they say they stay away from them so they can't hear it. And they'll just tell them, no, they have an agenda. They actually are opposed to God. And so these children growing up in the church
what
hear
they
this.
say is they want to make all your children gay. Yeah.
They tell the parents that, and they tell the kids that they're like, they love the devil. They're going to make you gay and whatever. And then a kid, if they are like noticing that they might be gay, they're like, there's shame, and that stays hidden. And, because they don't want that to be exposed because they see what they're saying about all the people which aren't true. There's lies. So that's the thing. When you step out of that bubble and you start to actually talk to people who are what you were told was enemies of God, and you actually get to know them, you're like, I don't feel like this person is an enemy of me, and I love God. How can they be an enemy of God? Like, they seem like a very loving, kind person. That's why one of the big things when we started this podcast in my head is I wanted people who were just saying like about deconstruction. Like, we had things said to us like, we love babies getting murdered because we weren't, pro-birth so much anymore. We saw that there was a place for abortion. There's a place for it, right? We were told that we love Christians getting their heads cut off because we weren't. I don't even know why that one was said to us. maybe because we thought Jesus had already come back, and then they were like, no, that's when that will end. It's still going on in Egypt or something, I think they were saying. And they're like, so you're okay with it? You like it happening? I'm just like, whatever. Your reasoning is ridiculous, but whatever. So that was one of the biggest things I wanted to show people, like people who are deconstructing are not living these crazy sin-filled lives. You know what I'm saying? We live similar to the way we always have. We love each other. We're still in a marriage, you know, and like people choose all sorts of different scenarios, but we're not out doing hurtful things to people. We're not out becoming perverts. We're kind, we're loving, we're raising our families. And then I want them to look at us and go, but we deserve hell, right? We deserve hell. You got to get up close to these people and go, and do they deserve eternal punishment? Look at how they live their lives. Do they deserve eternal punishment? Because that might help some awareness start in somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely it could. Because, I mean, even then you could do the contrast of you got these people outside that you've always demonized and said they're awful. But then look inside of your own church buildings. There's numerous accounts of pastors and pastoral staff abusing children or stealing money or doing all these things that would be considered sinful and abhorrent behavior. But we're just going to swipe that under the rug, and we're just going to not worry about that and let the church take care of that, because we're going to do the Duggar system and we'll take care of that in-house and not expose it and really protect the people in here and get them the help they need, which is no help really whatsoever. So then they end up recommitting these acts again somewhere else.
And then they get labeled as, I mean, like, look at Josh Duggar. He's, people don't think highly of him, that's for sure. And he's kind of looked at as, by some people, a monster. He's not someone you want your children around. But yet, at one point, he was this kid that needed help. He needed somebody to come alongside him and kind of help him get and honestly, he probably,
folks.
Well, yeah, but he probably got to that point because of the sexual shame, instead of, he was curious about bodies. He was curious about sexuality. He didn't understand it. He was a kid, and he did some terrible things because he couldn't talk to anybody about it. And, it makes the environment perfect for this kind of stuff to happen. And then they'll say, well, not all Christians do those things. Not all pastors do those things, but they don't give that same grace when it comes to when people were saying like, which were made up stories, weren't even true stories about, drag queen story hour.
Too far in our history and say that all Muslims, for a while in our country, all Muslims were terrorists and we couldn't trust them. Because, 9/11 or whatever.
Well, so, that's not, it wasn't true, but yes, we were given that message, right? And we were living out of, a lot of people were living out of that fear. I don't think we were, but a lot of people were living out of this fear, like, oh, you might side eye. And I'm not saying we never did either. I don't know. We probably did, because we were steeped in Christianity in 2001. But it's like, my point that I was trying to make is that they always say not all Christians or not all men or not all, white people or whatever, which
not all cops,
which is not all cops. Yeah. All these things they say, which is true. That is true. It's not all. And a lot of times it is the minority that are doing violent things, that are doing these evil things. It is the minority, but they're loud and it needs to be addressed. Correct. But the thing is, they don't extend that to people like
outside the faith.
Well, yeah, like an LGBTQ person, they'll make up things about them. Like, let's say there was a transgender person who did a school shooting. I think it was like in a Christian school.
Yeah, in Kentucky or something.
Then they'll say, oh, trans people are like this. See, they do the same thing that they're claiming the world does. They do the exact same thing. They don't show mercy or grace. And I'm saying, for both sides, we have to stop clumping everybody together in these big balls and you're all like this because you look like this or because you live here or because you have this religion, and I know we are guilty of sounding like we're saying that too when we kind of are like Christians. We just blankly there are good people that are Christians. There absolutely are people who actually
yeah.
live like Jesus did. They're loving, they're kind, they're not wanting to like exclude people. They're not they genuinely care, and they don't want to try to enforce their belief system on everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
There are genuinely Christians like that. But when we say it, it can sound like we are doing the same thing that we're accusing others of doing, to be honest.
Yeah. No, and that's part of the self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And even to pat ourselves on the back, we realize that. And that's why sometimes we'll come back and say, we're not saying all Christians. I know I've had to say that on posts before where people have commented, well, my church, which is a standard response whenever you say something against Christianity, well, my church does this. And then it's like, well, I'm not saying that's great that your church is doing it. I don't think you're trying to be a troll. So I'm going to handle you with kid gloves.
Yeah.
And I'm saying in general, and the perspective of what most people see as Christianity today is what's being shoved down our throats by
and I think
these people that are in charge of things right now. They're trying to push an agenda across to get everything into a Christian nation. And that's what's representing Christianity in the world today.
Well, and I think when some people are saying, no, it's all until it's none or whatever, some people will be like, yes, it is all men, or yes, it is all white people, or yes, it is all cops. In reality, is the fact that it's all? No. But I think when we keep saying like, well, not this guy, not this white lady, you know what I'm saying? When we do that, we're taking away from they're taking the energy to like try to explain all these little times when it's not, instead of like, let's just keep our attention where we need a solution. This is what's going on. We need to become aware of it, just like you need to become self-aware of where. Another thing that when you're self-aware is you let go of the judgment so much on yourself, which lets go of the judgment on others, so you can actually notice your patterns, notice your habits, notice your triggers and how you react to those triggers. And there's distance between you. You are not the trigger. You are not the thoughts that you have. You are reacting. You're the person observing the reaction. You're observing the thoughts. You're the observer in the background. So when you recognize that, that's huge self-awareness right there. You have to be aware that you are the observer of what you're doing. So then you can actually begin to tweak things and change things in your life. And you have intention. Like I, had a conversation with someone who really is becoming more and more self-aware, and they realized, hey, their habit was to come into their home and throw their clothes down. And they're like, if I want a different life, I'm going to have to change my habits. And so they decided to put their clothes away. And that's a one step. The awareness is first, and all of this, a spiritual awakening, deconstructing, all of it is, you have to become self-aware first. And to become self-aware, you've got to be around people that are different than you, because it causes you to go, wait a second. You know what I'm saying? Like they have a different experience than I'm having here.
Let's go down this path a little bit, because self-awareness can be just and then full disclosure, because we're kind of going through it here as much as we possibly can. We're trying to be more self-aware of what we're doing. It can be a huge kick in the nuts at times, because then it's like, oh, I was doing that, and you're realizing your own behavior. But it gives you a chance to take accountability for that and build from there. Understand that's not the person I want to be. That's the way I was. I'm trying to rebuild.
I was conditioned or I was programmed to be that way, and I don't want to do it anymore.
Why you were there, and move on from there and build up and make yourself into the person you want to be. But it's also a good thing, because then you become more well-rounded in the universe around you, in the community that's around you. You become more of a vital, integral piece to the community around you. So it's like you said, it's when you start noticing the things about yourself. If you can notice, man, when this conversation comes up, I'm kind of a dickhead, or whatever. Why is that? And start analyzing it and looking into it. That's being self-aware. That's looking into it and trying to understand, why am I doing this? This isn't great. This isn't the person I want to be. How can I become different in this? And I think it's different than when we get what Christianity would probably be saying, because there's probably some people that are deep in the faith who say, well, that's what we do. We notice the sin in our life and we want to eliminate it and change it.
Mm. You're right.
I think there's a difference there because, one, the sin is defined by outside means.
Mm-hmm.
So the sin
and it's
is
just based on behavior.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what's going on inside, though they would say it is. But the only way you can recognize it is not by how you're feeling inside necessarily. It's how you behaved. That people didn't like it. Christians didn't like it mostly.
Yeah. Instead, you're looking at something when you're outside of it and truly being self-aware is something that you don't like about what you may be doing, or something you may like about what you're doing and trying to promote that a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But you're analyzing it from a different point of view. You're trying to see, I guess, in essence, you're trying to see yourself from other people's perspectives on
Mm-hmm.
how you may come off and
Yes.
how you may be perceived in the world. And in order to do that and do that well, you have to understand other people around you and get in tuned with them. If you're in an echo chamber of everyone of the same religious belief, political belief,
Looks the same, acts the same. Yeah.
yeah, monetary status in life, you're not going to notice a lot of stuff different that you need to change, and you're just going to fit into that.
You'll be very comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah.
But your life will be dull after a while, very dull.
Yeah, and other people aren't going to want a whole lot to do with you because you can't associate with them because you can't comprehend where they're at or just be part of their lives or understand what they're doing. And
or understand why someone might have the reaction that they're having. Like when it comes to, let's say, abortion, if you don't know anybody who's had to make that terrible decision because they don't feel like they can make, they feel like that's the best option, you really should have no say in the argument.
Yeah.
If you haven't experienced it yourself, probably even more so, unless you've experienced it yourself. But or if you have empathy for someone who has experienced, and you're like, there are times when that is definitely the way to go. Like, who am I to say no? And also, Christians who are against it, like, why does God let it happen so much? God's in control. He could stop every single abortion, and he doesn't. So maybe God likes abortion. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but they don't think that way. They'll be like, that's the devil.
Yeah. And I think a thing of self-awareness that's come about that is all these women that have come out now in the last year or so that are in these extremely red states that have voted and been pro-life all their life and have said, I had, ectopic pregnancy.
Ectopic
pregnancy or a non-viable pregnancy. And the doctors presented it to me as, quite frankly, I think the doctors are in there going, yeah, we don't like these laws that are being out here. You could possibly die because you have a non-viable pregnancy inside of you.
But you have to go home and just try to like see if your body will do what it can to get rid of it without us intervening because we don't want to lose our practice.
And make sure that you stay safe, but we can't right now because the government will not allow us to do this.
And Christians are like, hallelujah, praise Jesus. While these people are in their homes, this mother might die while she has other children. Her husband might lose his wife, parents might lose their child or daughter, over all of this because Christians wanted to like have their religion be the law of the land, which God has never said anywhere in the Bible for them to do that. But they think that this is so godly what they're doing, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, it is. So in this self-awareness, I guess to kind of start tailing this off into where we need to go, is just becoming aware of people around you and where they may become. It's instead of me trying to tell everyone how to live in their life, it was me listening to these people and how they're living their lives to see how I could fit into that. And I hate to say, so how can I benefit that? But that's not really what I'm trying to say. It's just to be part of society, to fit in, instead of trying to control and push and steer society into the way that I believe is true, instead of letting other people's input come in. And yes, being allowed to say, all right, I don't agree with this, but let's kind of all come together and see where we can work this out. Whereas before, and what you're seeing now with the Christian nationalists is this is the way it needs to be, and we're going to force this on everyone. And it's not working. There's plenty of examples of where it's not working when you're that strict and that black and white on how you're doing things. You have to have nuance in everything. But they don't want to allow this nuance in there because that goes against the will of God. God's this strict egalitarian that won't allow anything to go astray from anything that's in his ways. So
yeah. He's strict that you have to obey these rules so much that you need to force it on people who don't even believe in him to get him to believe. I mean, there's been pastors we have heard like that have said, we don't care if you don't become Christian, but you sure as hell can pretend.
Yeah.
Like they just want to force people to pretend to follow their faith, whether their hearts change or not. They don't care about Christianity. They just care that people conform to the life that they like. Right. They don't like it looking different than what they know, because they're not willing to feel uncomfortable because they're not self-aware. And they think that they fear self-awareness. Honestly, they think it's probably some woke, strange thing when it's not. It is actually, it's probably the purpose of life is to become self-aware. And then the self-awareness I've noticed, once you become self-aware, you just grow in self-awareness. You become more and more self-aware. And that's really been the journey for me anyways.
Yeah. And I think you hit on a key point there with the pastors talking about this, because they want to be comfortable. So they want the world to conform around them to make comfortable. You can pretend to make me comfortable.
Yeah. Who wants that? That's crazy.
Not how the world's supposed to work. When we became more self-aware, we realized something, that's when the world gets input. So everyone around us gets input, and we may have to be uncomfortable with stuff, because there's plenty of times where we've had discussions about things. Maybe it was with a black person, and they're talking to us about how they perceived life and how
they feel racism on an everyday basis, where we don't have a clue what that feels like. Yeah.
Yes. It's uncomfortable to understand that you're part of this system that's been pushing it out, or have been part of this system that kept pushing this out and pushing this on them. Or an LGBTQ person, where you were in the faith, we were against LGBTQ, and we're not now, but you're heaping these burdens on these people because we didn't want to think about you and what you were doing. That made us uncomfortable.
Yeah. And you know, when it comes to LGBTQ people, what's sick is people go right to like how they have sex. They really do. That's what they're thinking about. And it's like, what the hell? You don't think about that with anybody else. I don't care. I do not care how someone is having. That's their private business. If they're with consenting adults, it's their business. I don't want to hear about it, but I don't care, and yet all of a sudden we want to legislate. It's just crazy to me, because Christianity is just, and it's not just Christianity, because I know Muslims, that's a thing they've wanted throughout history, trying to overtake and force laws.
We'll go on a brief tangent here. Christianity is one of the most sexually perverse ideologies around, because they are concerned about what everyone is doing in their bedrooms. It's not just what LGBTQ are doing. They want to know what teenagers are doing in the bedrooms and alone.
Yeah,
so they can prevent it. True. This is how you need to live. Don't be doing that. Don't be doing this. Don't be soaking. Don't be doing the butthole loophole or the poop hole loophole. Right? This Christianity is so focused on sexuality, and so sometimes, and it's on everyone's sexuality.
That's true.
Who's going to be the first person to notice if a woman's got a short skirt
especially,
on, or a low-cut blouse?
Especially women's sexuality. Yeah. It is a lot to do with women's sexuality. Like body count seems to matter for a woman, but it doesn't matter for a guy.
Yeah.
In Christianity, it probably did, but overall, they're probably like, "Oh, I'm just glad he's not gay because he's with a woman."
Yeah.
There's kind of that. Wouldn't you
But
say?
yeah, but we're getting off here. My fault. We can talk about that next week on the Valentine's special. So,
Oh, wow. Fun times.
but the self-awareness of, I think that one of the key things, instead of worrying about my comfortability, I start worrying about being self-aware. I start worrying about everyone else's comfortability in my presence.
Yeah, you're aware of you. You don't want to go against. I mean, that's different too, because you're kind of conditioned to fear certain people and to fear certain situations. And so in a way, you are going to be going against what like your nervous system is going to react when it's around somebody you've been programmed to think is like your enemy, right?
Yeah. And that's the uncomfortableness of trying to become
and you've got to go,
self-aware.
is this really a reason to be uncomfortable? That's when you start to direct yourself, rather than you're starting to kind of be intentional about how you live your life, rather than just letting the subconscious rule on its own, because it's just going to run on programs. That's all it's going to do. This isn't a judgment thing. It's just going to run on a program that's been given to it. And it's going to be like, okay, we're scared of this. This is scary. Get out. Right. And then you're going to think that was the conviction of the Holy Spirit. And it's not the conviction of the Holy Spirit at all. It's just a program that's running in the background that's telling you this is scary. And this is where you have to have common sense and cognitive what's it called? Critical thinking skills, which those are dampened in Christianity. So there's a lot of ways they prohibit people from becoming self-aware by kind of trapping them in these bubbles and then telling them all these lies so that they will be afraid and get programmed from birth to not do it. But yet, I think that's one thing where social media has helped propel, because more people are becoming self-aware. There's no doubt about that. And I think a lot of it has to do with the good side of the internet, which is helping, the good side of social media, which is helping us see other people's perspective. We're seeing people that are very different than us. We're listening to them and we're hearing their perspective. And then it's shifting.
Yeah. It's helped break down
So
some of
that's
the walls.
the good side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have to be intentional when you first start doing it, because you're trying to figure out you're trying to break down the walls that the systems have built up around you, that these people are bad, that are trying to do undue influence on you or whatever it may be. They're trying to intentionally cause harm and wreak havoc in your life.
And you want to know which ones are true, because there are some, like as we've said, sometimes it's a pastor that's the bad guy, right?
Oh yeah.
But I don't want to have in my head that every single pastor is a bad guy.
Yeah.
We got to learn how to read our own cues from our body, because it's picking up on things we don't consciously pick up on. But also, that's when you use you learn how to, you can't just stop thinking these things. You have to, the only way to get, I guess what I would say is, if you want to become more self-aware, get yourself around people who are different from you, or put yourself in situations that are different than you're used to, where you feel a little uncomfortable, so that you can learn how your body behaves. You can become aware of those things. The first part is awareness, not judgment, just awareness. And then you can start changing things where you see fit, right? Yep. So becoming self-aware is the very first step. And how you do it is you got to get into different situations than you've been in before.
Yeah.
Or than you're comfortable necessarily. You don't have to go way overboard, just a little bit. Do things just a little bit different.
Just a little bit different. Well said. All right. So yeah, the key is, and the goal for this week is, try to be a little more self-aware. Get yourself involved in the world that's around you, and make others comfortable around you. Because I think if I were to reflect back into my Christian state, but put myself into the person that I was trying to witness to, I would be comfortable in my Christian state witnessing to that person, because I was doing the right thing. That person would feel extremely uncomfortable. That's not the situation.
You would think that you'd walk away and be like, oh, that was a great conversation. They'd be walking away like, oh gosh, I'm so glad he shut up. Yeah.
Hindsight being 2020, I know people now that are still in the faith that want to come up and talk to me about it. And it's like, oh, I need to get out of this conversation. I do not want to be here. This is extremely uncomfortable.
And I think for those of us who who are gaining more self-awareness, I think a good tip in relating with someone who's not self-aware is to, first of all, remember they're in like a childlike state.
Yes.
So you can be firm with them. You can have your boundaries. Remember, they're probably not intentionally trying to be obnoxious, but they are being obnoxious, and it does need to be called out. And keep in mind that if you view them that way, you won't become hateful necessarily towards them, hopefully. But also, I think one of the biggest things that I learned, that I came to understand, and first of all, we're not telling you like become more self-aware. It can't really do that. What we're saying is the behavior, go out and be around different people. Watch watch shows that are written from a different person's perspective that's not you. If you're a white person, watch a perspective of a black person. Watch a documentary from a black person's point of view. Watch a documentary from a Muslim's point of view. Watch a documentary from, just someone outside of you. That you could start with documentaries. You can start with books, reading a biography or not a biography of somebody who's outside of the world that you kind of live in, and see through their eyes, feel, like allow yourself to go there in your imagination, and it will help you to become more self-aware. That's how you'll become more self-aware. If that's what you want, this is a way that you could start that. But one thing I did discover, and this is concerning like Christianity, was I always thought I was one of the disciples. I always related to the disciples. I thought I was, I would relate to them. I never, the Pharisees were kind of outsiders. They were the ones I didn't like. They were the villains in the story, right? After I came out of Christianity, I realized I'm both. I'm the disciple, I'm Jesus, and I'm the Pharisee. Sometimes I'm the one sharing the wisdom. Sometimes I'm the one like not quite getting it, but I'm, I need it exposed so that I can, not be taken advantage of. And then sometimes I'm the one that's taking advantage of people, and I'm using it for my own power and my own good. So really, I think self-awareness helps you realize how you are kind of everybody. You've been the villain, you've been the hero, you've been the side piece.
Okay, Kirk. Way to bring it back. Full circle. All right, on that note, if you're watching on YouTube, go like, subscribe, and follow. We'd appreciate that greatly. Leave us a comment. We reply to all the comments and enjoy hearing from you and your perspectives. Even if you tell us we're full of shit, we love hearing it. Makes us laugh. If you're listening on a normal podcast streamer, Apple, Spotify, whatever it may be, go up, give us 5 stars. We'd appreciate that greatly. And if you got a moment, leave us a comment there too. Again, we love hearing comments. We're very greedy in that way. We want comments all the time. And if you want to know more about us, go down below. And we have all our links down there. Dan and Can's the main link where you can get in there and get all the stuff we're doing. Candy's broken out a few other links of extra things that she's doing that are all inside of Dan and Can, but this is a quicker way to get there. A little shortcut to some of her other stuff, like her series she's still doing. Candy, you want to explain that a little bit?
Devotions for Deconstructing. I'm actually going through 3 books, going through the Book of Awakening by Mark Nepo, which is a universal spiritual book. It's really just human-centered. Doing a daily reading. I'm not reading it. I'm just kind of summing up my view after reading it. And then I'm going through 2 Christian books, Jesus Calling by Sarah Young and My Utmost for His Highest by Oswald Chambers, which is like old school Christianity. I read it when I was a Christian. I'm trying to show the mindset, the mindset that is formed by each of these, the mindset that you might develop, the way that which might affect your behavior and how you relate to others if you buy into what is being pushed at you day after day when you're reading these. So we're only we're in the early part of the year. So, and already it's just like, oh, this stuff is garbage. There's a lot of problems with, actually both of the Christian ones, but My Utmost for His Highest is like total erasure of yourself. God, everything, you were nothing,
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's real fun.
So go check that out. It's a good little thing, about 10 minutes each on them?
No more than 20 for sure.
Yeah. So
kind of, it ranges from 10 to 20.
So a little quick hitter there on YouTube. So go check that out. It's good things. So other than that, folks, it's been a pleasure. And hopefully we see you back next week. We'll check you out later. Yeah. Candies, dandies.
No, don't get, I don't know. That's not going to work.
You don't
All right. Love ya. Bye.
Love ya. Bye.